director of the Da Vinci Center for Innovation here at VCU. And we're thrilled to have you for this info session for our Masters of Product Innovation program. This is the crown jewel of what the Da Vinci Center offers here at Virginia Commonwealth University. This is a really unique program that's focused, as you can probably guess, on product innovation, but that means a couple different things. And so tonight you're going to learn more about what product innovation means to us. That encompasses a lot of things like human-centered design, user experience, a lot more than what you might think of just from the product name. So, we're thrilled as well tonight to be joined by an outstanding graduate of our program, and Cameron. And so you're going to get a chance to hear directly from her about her experience in the program, the culture of the program, and have the chance to ask her questions, me questions. We've got, Allison Schumacher here. She's the director of academic alchemy for us, as well as Mary Chris Escobar. She joins us, leads all of our academic services for students. So many of you have probably already met Mary Chris, if you haven't met Allison and I yet. And, really, I just wanted to kick things off and say that you'll notice this virtual background I have is actually our newest space at the Da Vinci Center and for this program. And this is the Shift Retail Lab and Student Storefront. And what this facility is, it's a 2,700 square foot retail space where students have the ability to showcase products and services directly to the public. This is the first of its kind facility in the country. No other university has a space like this. Students maintain 100% of all the proceeds of everything they sell out of this space. And we really see this space as the classroom of the future. So if you're going to teach product innovation, if you're going to teach user experience, why would you do that in a classroom or just in a classroom, right? You need a laboratory environment. So I think that for us, this new space feels like the equivalent of what science classes have in a science lab. You learn chemistry and then you go into a lab and you practice chemistry hands-on in a science lab. For us, you learn user experience, you learn design thinking, you learn business and all these skills, and then you apply them in this new retail lab environment. So we're going to talk more about what this means for the program going forward. But I really wanted to go ahead and kick things off. And I told Cameron this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that being director of the Da Vinci Center means is that when I walk through my neighborhood, I have two neighbors who, when I walk by their house, they don't ask me about my kids. They don't ask me about my yard. They ask me about Cameron, and they ask me about other graduates of this program because they work for companies like CarMax and other creative things in town. So literally one of my neighbors, Chris, only talks to me about Cameron and other MPIs that have graduated from the program when I walk past his house. And that's what it means to go through this program, is that's the thing that people want to talk to you about. So without further ado, Cameron, why don't you just introduce yourself, share a little bit about what you're doing now, and then I've got some questions for you, but why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, cool. So hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Bradley. A little bit about myself. I'll give you guys some background from where I'm from. So I'm from Woodbridge, Virginia, and I went to school out in Longwood University for graphic design. And so after school, I came over into Richmond for a job at VCU. And that's kind of how I found out about the program, actually, Da Vinci. And I was actually looking at another track, which was similar to Da Vinci's, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do specifically. And so the thing I'll get into this later as well, but the thing I like about Da Vinci was that it was ambiguous in a sense of being able to choose your own path, but it having all the resources to help you get to that path. Whereas a lot of the other programs are very structured in a sense of, this is what you're doing, this is the only avenue you're going in. And so that's something that really geared towards to why I wanted to do Da Vinci. And so after I got into the program, it kind of led to me being in my path now of being a product designer for CarMax. So prior to CarMax, though, I actually had gotten into another company, which was a startup. And that's something else that they push for at Da Vinci as well, is the startup path. You never know what you like until you try it. So I got into the startup path and I was like, this is cool, but it's not really for me. And then I got into the corporate world and I was like, this is me. CarMax is really where I'm at. It's where I thrive. And like I said, it really depends on who you are as a person. And so that's where I'm at now, is CarMax as a product designer. So,
and I think you touched on it a little bit, but I think it's something that we definitely have incorporated in the program in the last couple of years, is this idea that there's not just one track where you're like, oh, I'm going to go into the corporate world or I'm going to go into startup. Can you talk a little bit about how you, like, what are the skills and experiences you had as an MPI student that allowed you to seamlessly go both to work in the startup space as well as in the corporate space?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the collaboration and team dynamics really helps you with that. So just having that collaborational piece, you're able to learn from your peers, which is something like super huge. That a lot of programs, they have collaboration, but you also have to realize the people who are coming in are from such diverse backgrounds. I think that really helps you kind of choose where you're going to go to in a sense of could I work with this this group of people? Because a startup life is very different from corporate. I will say that. So startups, let me give you some context if you don't know what a startup is, but a startup typically is a small company that's started up by a few founders. You have your co-founders, your people of that nature. And then once you get into that, it's not a lot of employees either. So I know the startup that I was in was around maybe like 25 employees. And so you also have a lot of hats that you wear in that startup. So you say, like, I was a product designer there. I never touched anything product design, to be quite honest. I was more of like a graphic designer, a business this or this, and which is fine because some people like that. And I feel like that builds your skill set more, to be honest. So I did stay there for a little bit. And then kind of also going back into like the program and how they gear you towards that in the corporate world. They provide you with so many resources, so many people. I honestly wouldn't be where I'm at if I was not in this program because I met amazing people who helped me, like uplifted me into this position, to be quite honest. And this is how I met my mentor, which is Chip Stevens, who is my manager now at CarMax. And so like DaVinci really gives you, when I say they have a network, they have a really, really, really great network. And it's just about how you utilize that and who you're talking to obtain that. And as well as like with your skill set, like I said, going back to collaboration and team, just learning that having those diverse experiences really helps you in your role as you get up there and into the different areas.
I think you touched on it a little bit. Collaboration is definitely part of the culture of the program. I think, I was talking with some other students recently and they were sharing this perspective that the MPI program was not just a master's program, it was more of an experience. And which for what we teach, that was very meaningful, right? Like to think that we are like actively trying to create this experience. Can you talk a little bit about the culture, like from the student perspective, like what's the culture of being in this program? How does it feel? What's it like?
Yeah, super close knit. So like Allison said earlier, having like a smaller, community, like even to see this, it's very intimate. And that's how you get in your classes as well. Like, so you have your professor who like cares about you. Like they know your name, they know what you're going through. If you're having a hard day, they know. And I think that was something that was really nice though, because like for me, I was working 2-3 jobs and doing my master's. Like, so they know everything about you, like how to work with you and how to get you to the next level that you're trying to go. So they're very like specific, goal specific for you and focus because we all have different goals while we're there. I will say that, that was really like what drew me to the program even more. So once I was in there, I was like, wow. So the culture of the program all together was that, it's very close knit and the people, you're very close to your peers and your professors. And then having the opportunity, I feel like is really, I won't say rare because I don't know how all the programs work, but I think it's rare because, some programs, master programs could be way more people than what, we have. And it's not always specific to you, if that makes sense. So I do think that like individualization is what creates this program to be so unique.
Yeah, selfishly, personally, that's what I really enjoy about it. We keep this program small on purpose. We cap the number of students that we're looking at. We're not a program that takes 50, 100, 150 students at a time. We keep small cohorts because we really love what we do as faculty. Like we enjoy getting to know individual students and their passions and being able to really walk alongside you all. And that's what's fun for us is that everyone's a unique individual with their own interests and passions, and we get to walk alongside you and learn those things and engage instead of just standing there and delivering content or saying, try this or try that. Like we get to do it. And I think the faculty are a lot of practitioners. They're people from industry. They're people from entrepreneurs ourselves that really enjoy that fast-paced, curious environment of learning new things. And I think the culture is two ways. I think it's both the students. We try and bring in curious, passionate students, but then on the faculty side, we try and bring in really diverse, really different faculty as well to complement the student experience. I'm curious, like, what are a couple of are there a couple key like skills, concepts that you learned in the program that you use in your daily work that you find yourself going to? And I'm like, oh, I like learned that in the master's program.
Yes, a bunch of so many. And this is why I'm just so thankful I went through this program, because like this is I'm gonna say my first real job. We're just gonna say that. Like CarMax is my first real product designer position. And so when I got into this position, I was like, working with other people, and people come from all backgrounds, of course. And so some people could be a little harder to work with than others, So I feel like Da Vinci sets you up with this teamwork, and it's in the sense of that, you never know who you're going to work with, but you got to work with them, right? So at the end of the day, like that's how it is in the corporate world. You never know who you're going to work with, but you have to work with them. And everybody has different languages. So speaking the developer language and speaking a designer language is going to be different. So I feel like that really helped me to be able to work with people. Like I said, once again, you're getting people from different backgrounds, somebody who might be an engineer, somebody who might be, a designer. So we all think differently, and being able to come together and have that collaboration and have that experience of that diverseness is going to help you long term. I feel like that's something I use every day, because right now I'm the only product designer on my team specifically. And so I'm matched up with 4 different developers, a product manager. And so it's just very different, and they don't understand me all the time. I don't understand them, but it's just having that sense of, we are all coming from different ways and speak different languages. I don't know what CSS, HTML, all that stuff. I'm just like, so it's different. And then the second thing I will say that I really enjoy for my skill set that I brought from here to there is even if you're not pursuing a product designer path, if you're doing product management or something in product innovation, I will say Da Vinci really sets you up to touch base on all of those. So it's not just, like I said, a one path thing. To this day, I got my certification in Scrum was product owner in Scrum. And literally, I don't use it, but I know that it's efficient because we do these things called Kanban and all this other stuff. We're using these resources, even though, I'm not the actual product owner, but you still get that experience of what would a product owner do? So you're experiencing all these different things throughout the program, which sets you up to be well, maybe I want to be a UX researcher. Well, maybe I want to be a product designer, And so it's letting you explore, I think, is really helpful. And that kind of geared me towards my skill set of a product designer, because I didn't know what a product designer was actually until I got into the program. I was just I like graphic design. I want to do design, but I didn't know what it was. And so once I got into it, and I was wow, UX, they helped me build my portfolio up. There was just so many different resources and skills that I brought from Da Vinci that I use now specifically to make myself even better at CarMax.
I think that's something else that, I see as a strength, is that there's no one track that students graduate into, right? It's not like everyone comes into the program and they all exit to go be a product manager or a product designer. It is across the board, right? Some people go to work at startups and they wear all of those different hats. Some people are doing product work. Some people are doing venture capital. Some people, it's been really exciting to see that. And I think that speaks to sort of these 21st century skills and this well-roundedness of, another former student said, this is an MBA for the 21st century, right? This is what, a degree that was very jack of all trades, Jill of all trades, gives you that unique capacity to step into any environment and be a quick study and be able to communicate across teams. And I see a lot of students too are able to go out and get a job at a startup or on a product team and then move roles very quickly and get promoted into other roles and move around. So yeah, Allison, those that are UX, strategy and UX research, very popular fields for our students as well.
Yeah. And I also was going to say, if they're not into any of those, also you guys touch on entrepreneurship, which I think is so important, because even though entrepreneurship, I'm finding out it might not be for me, entrepreneurship is something I'm really interested in. So that's, something I've been looking at, which is, I feel like this program, I didn't even know, like I said, about it beforehand until this program. So they just have all types of paths. If you're well, I don't want to work for someone, you can work for yourself, and they'll show you the pathway to that and the resources for that.
And Shift is obviously a pretty tremendous asset if you're interested in running your own business. the model of the storefront as well is that students in the program have the ability to do takeovers of this new space. So you get the entire 2,700 square foot facility for yourself for a weekend, to run your own pop-up event, to do your own sales out of, to host an event, even just to gain customer insight. So that was one of the big things we learned in building this facility and talking to students, was that there's a need for what this offers prior to even going to market, right? It's not just about selling. It's about, hey, I want this space for a weekend to test all of these different flavors of my vegan jerky, which one of our students in the program right now has, right? So during Parents Weekend at VCU, he used the storefront facility to test flavors of his jerky. And that's what we served as, hors d'oeuvres to all the prospective parents at VCU, was his vegan jerky product, where he was actually doing flavor testing. So that ability to use the space as part of the program is something that on his entrepreneurial journey, on students' journey to be an entrepreneur, and maybe some of our students, another one that works at CarMax, just had a side hustle as a way to make some extra money. And they were like, hey, I know I'm going to be this other track, but you know what? I like making things. I'm going to make this little widget. I'm going to make these coasters for charity. I'm going to make these t-shirts or whatever, and I'm going to put them in this storefront and make a little bit of money and run a little business on the side. So I think that just speaks more to that creative, sort of enthusiastic sort of demeanor that we tend to attract. For those folks that are here with us, like, what questions do you have for Cameron? I mean, I think it's really, you can obviously hear from me and Allison and Mary Chris about the program, and we can give you the nuts and bolts, but I think it's really valuable that you can talk directly to people that have been through the program about their authentic experience. So we'll open it up the floor to questions. You can drop them in the chat or just unmute and go ahead and ask away.
Cameron, can you talk a little bit more about your experience in the program, just like start to finish, and especially since you were juggling 2-3 jobs, how was that managing your workload and going to night classes?
Yeah, so rough. It's still a master's program, but it wasn't rough in the sense of, not being able to complete work and stuff of that nature at all, actually. Like I said, the professors really work with you. So let me start from the beginning now. So for me specifically, I started, when did I start? I started in summer. So I did a summer to summer, basically. I did the 18-month, I think, 13. 15, 13,
13.
13. Okay. Yeah, it went by really quickly. So I did a 13-month track, actually. So I started in the summer and I finished in the summer. And once I did that, so the classes, like I said, I think when we first started, was virtual. And so that was a different experience. It wasn't in person until like fall. And so once we got into the fall, it wasn't too bad actually when it came to juggling them, because the way that it's set up is you'll have your work. There'll be some individual work. I will also say that not everything's going to be collaboration, but for the most part it is. So you have a team to rely on. And so that's also a really good thing, because what you can't do, someone else can. And like, that's where the strengths and weaknesses balance each other out in a team. So I feel like that was really helpful for me, because like, researching / writing is not my strong suit at all. I'm a designer and I know that. So, and like for me specifically, like I had someone, Sally Clements at the time, do like our research portion. She's super great. She's a UX researcher now. So she was able to do that to balance me out. And, design might not take as long as UX research. So it's just really balancing out to see like, what is your weakness and what is your strengths, and sharing that with the team that you're on, so they know what you're going through too. So that's another thing about the close-knit community. Your team, like they had our schedules packed. So everybody knew when you were at work not to bother you. Like if you're at work and you can't talk, that's okay. Like we had times, and I think it's called TOPS. It was a contract that Allison had us fill out. And that contract, in a sense, it was non-binding, but like a contract, a very loose contract of like when to be contacted. Here's your number. If you need me, these are the hours you can contact me. Like that was really like the driving key to respecting people's like outside life and having that work-life balance in a sense. So that's really helped, I guess, as far as like management. But once I started in fall in-person classes, I feel like it was a little bit easier because it was at night. And I kind of planned my schedule around that. So classes, I think we had, for my schedule, like I said, it was a little bit lighter than my peers, because a lot of them did like the 2-year program. And so the 13-month program, I felt like helped me because I got a head start in the summer, where I was able to take most of my classes online. So yes. And then, so going through the semesters, like I said, just planning your schedule around your actual classes was what kind of helped me. Because most of them are consistent. Actually, not most of them, they are. All of the classes are consistent with times. So usually like 5 to like 8:30 or something of that nature. And if the teacher doesn't have anything for you, they're not going to hold you. That's another thing. So they'll let us early with the work that that needs to be completed. And then you have that week to do it, which is really helpful too, because you have that class maybe 1 to 2 times a week, if that. I think it was once a week actually, which was really good, because then I had all my work on the weekend that I could just do the work and stuff. So the work-life balance was pretty easy. So as far as managing, so yeah, that's it. For the actual like classes and my experiences in the classes, like I said, top tier. Like I said, I just really loved it because like they really take the time to learn you as a person, like learn your goals. And I think that's so important because a lot of people don't take the time out to do that. Like one of my professors, I was really cool with. I didn't think I was going to click with him, to be quite honest, but I clicked with him and he was like, man, I have someone I want you to meet, to like talk to. And like, from there on, like, that's when I started talking to people at CarMax. Like he just saw something in me I didn't see. So that was something that was really helpful for me because I was like, I want to do this, but I don't know. Like, and he was like, you can do it. Like, and like, he set me up to do it. So it's just really trying to figure out, I will say just connect with your professors. I will say that a lot of people may not take advantage of it because they may feel like, well, they already have like 13 other students or whatever the case may be. Really connect with your professors and your resources and take advantage of it. The events and stuff that Da Vinci has, do them, like all of them, honestly, like as much as you can, put it that way. I know towards the end I got kind of busy, but like at the beginning, like I was on top of, they're like free Scrum product owner, free this. I was like, I'm in, like just trying to get them all in because you never know who you're going to meet. And actually leading to that, like my experience with that was I did the product owner and then met someone in a startup. This was a different startup that I did. And I was their product designer intern. And that's how I really started building my portfolio out in product design. So then I was able to share that with CarMax and was like, hey, look, I did this along with what Da Vinci had. So it was just like taking advantage of those opportunities that they present is really important. And that's going to shape your experience throughout the program. I will say that there's going to be, sometimes people may not take advantage of them. And I think that's going to hurt you a little bit more than if you do, because like, it's just there. It's free opportunities, free resources. I mean, in a sense of like, you can connect with people. You just connect with people on a different level and it just opens more doors for you. That's all. So I hope that answered your question. That was long.
Another just trend that we've seen is that people definitely, like, there are some students who work full-time, work multiple jobs and go through the program. And, they're not able to take advantage of absolutely everything that is going on from a programmatic standpoint at Da Vinci. But because of when we offer our classes, because we know we have students that we work really hard to make sure that there are those opportunities to gain those skills and the networking and all of those types of things. And you have the chance to try out some of what you're learning at work, which is a benefit. So, I mean, it goes both ways. I think you're learning these new skills, you can put them into action immediately in your workplace. And so we've had some students that, Isaiah is someone who was working at Altria. We've had a couple of students that were working at Altria. They were working in these companies, going through the program and actively applying what they were learning at work, which then helped them level up. And they took either promotions or moved on into new roles at new companies after the program because they were able to show that they applied what they learned. So, it's different opportunities for different people depending on what they have going on in their life. And I think we're big on diversity of all kinds in the program. Like, people come from different academic backgrounds. People are coming from different industry experience. Some people have lots of work experience. Some people come straight out of undergrad. We have a fair number of international students that are in the program at any given cohort year. So it's a really eclectic mix on purpose. That's part of, like, we spend a lot of time trying to sort of secret sauce the collection of individuals and people that come together to form these cohorts. And so, there's no right way to do the work, not work aspect of it.
Yeah, that's another thing. There is no wrong way, guys, to do your like actual assignments. Like, effort effort and put 100% effort into it, because you could think of the most craziest thing and they'll be like, wow, like it's different because like everybody's like outside the box, inside the box. Like it does not matter. I think that's something I really loved about Da Vinci. Like you cannot be wrong, like in a sense of like your creativity and your innovations, you know. I just think that's something that was just so exciting to me. And I really enjoyed it.
Other questions? Diamond, go ahead. I keep talking. You keep unmuting right when I open my mouth.
It's fine. I was just going to say thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope I covered everything. Like I said, I know I overshare sometimes, but yeah.
I mean, we're going to get into, Mary Chris and I in a little bit are going to get into the courses and how things lay out too. So we'll give you some more details in terms of the curriculum and those kinds of things too.
For this recording, where will it be shared? Because unfortunately, I do have another meeting at 6.
No problem. We will send it out via email to everyone who registered for this event. And then we will also post on YouTube.
All right, thank you. Cameron, it was great hearing you talk about your experience. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, thank you for coming and listening. If you guys want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn as Cameron Bradley, so you guys can just find me on there as well. And I can post my link in here too.
Any other questions for Cameron or also for me? I'm going to leave you all too with Allison and Mary Chris in a little bit to walk you through the program and give you the specifics of the courses and how they fit together and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm happy to answer questions about the Da Vinci Center, about the program at large, or about any of the other aspects. All right. Well, hearing none, again, I'll put my information in the chat as well. You're free to make individual appointments with any of us at Da Vinci to learn more. Like we love this stuff. Like this is why we do it. You know, we really do enjoy learning about your interests and how they might align in the program and what opportunities there would be and what through lines there are with other courses and offerings and how we can create these mashups. And so if you have specific questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody else. And then I'll turn it back over to Mary Chris and Allison to go into more of the specifics about how the program works. And Cameron, thanks again for being here. We know you have a packed schedule. Thanks for taking some time out to join us.
Yeah, thank you, y'all. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, Allison, Mary Chris, it's all you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I guess we can introduce ourselves. I know most, well, if you've been in contact with us in the past, you have already been in contact with Mary Chris, but we will both tell you a little bit about ourselves. So my name is Allison Schumacher. I'm the Director of Academic Alchemy for the Da Vinci Center. I've been mentoring and working with Da Vinci for over 10 years, but recently joined in 2015 officially. My job is to make changes, listen to our faculty, our mentors, our students, our sponsors on how to change the program. Really every semester, we never try to teach one class the same way. We're always looking to improve, and that's our job as an innovation center. The second part of major part of my job anyway, is reaching out to our corporate sponsors, to our health system, to local startups and nonprofits, and really identify projects for our students to work on. And of course, I teach in a program called ITO 590, which I'll get into in a little bit. But that gives one of the first very real world experiences that students get to do in the program working on cross-disciplinary teams. So, Mary Chris.
Awesome, thanks. Thank you all so much for being here. Always excited to share about this program. I am the Assistant Director for Academic Programs, and as Garrett mentioned, I really work on the student services side of things. So everything from recruitment and events like this, all the way through helping you plan out your classes, getting you onboarded into our program through orientation, and then helping you graduate. I also serve that role for our undergraduate students at the Da Vinci Center. So we'll briefly talk about the fact that we have some undergraduate certificates alongside our Masters of Product Innovation. So I also work alongside with that and teach an intro class in our undergraduate program. So kind of all things on the student services side, and I'm always constantly inspired by the ideas that our students have and getting to work with fabulous individuals like Cameron, who you just met. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, Allison, and we can jump into the presentation. Okay.
Okay, so Da Vinci Center for Innovation really what we do is bring multidisciplinary groups together to solve real world problems. So on the product innovation side of things, both at the grad and the undergraduate level, that mainly looks like how do we give you the tools and tricks and methodologies and mindsets to be able to develop innovative products. We do projects for, like I said, for sponsors that can be, somewhat for a nonprofit, or all the way up to a large corporation that may want to work on a product innovation problem with us. We do that in a way where it is not just them handing us the problem and the solution at the same time, but rather an identified problem that we can explore and look for multiple options for solutions with our cross-disciplinary teams. So Da Vinci is officially part of the School of Arts, the School of Business, the College of Engineering, and the College of Humanities and Sciences. And we also have a partnership with our health system and our School of Nursing. On the undergraduate level, just to kind of let you know what we do and how that relates to the whole, we do have an undergraduate certificate in product innovation where students take courses in arts, business, and engineering, and then do a project course as their capstone. Looks a lot like the fall semester for the master's program, but just at an undergraduate level. And then in venture creation, or on the entrepreneurship side, we help students start businesses. We help them launch products. We help them figure out if they want to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of times we see our students flip-flop. They may want to work for industry, and then they learn that they can be a really impactful entrepreneur. And then we also offer courses in human-centered design or design thinking. This is a foundation of what we teach at the Da Vinci Center, rooting all of our product development in empathy and user needs. So really understanding what pain points actual humans have in order to provide solutions that they actually want to buy or use. At the graduate level, we have the Master of Product Innovation program, obviously why you're here, which is a combination of kind of all those three things. It is product innovation, venture creation, and human-centered design, all in one, and then elevated to a graduate level challenge. The last program that we have is a graduate certificate in healthcare innovation, which is a 12-credit master's certificate that you take 6 credits in the college or in the School of Nursing, in nursing leadership, and then 6 credits out of the MPI program. That program is really intended to take people who are caretakers or care providers or involved in the health system and give them an introduction to product and how they might be able to release or produce a product to license it or become an entrepreneur themselves. And then also people from the product side who have an interest in healthcare and would like to make an impact in people's lives. They can learn more about the regulations and how you actually produce and implement a product in healthcare. All right, next one, there we go. So a few more details about these two programs. So we list the Master of Product Innovation program as 13 to 18 months. That is the standards, those are the standard schedules that our students generally take. But when we have students like Isaiah Harvin, there is an interview with him from a previous info session if you want to catch it on YouTube. Isaiah came in working for Altria, and now he is running product for HBO Max. He did the program in 2 years because he decided to work full time. His company was helping him with the tuition and those kinds of things. So he got to live through 2 cohorts, which is kind of nice. You get to expand your network that much more by engaging with a couple different groups of people. But you can choose to go summer to summer or fall to fall or summer to fall. There's a few different options of how you want to move through the program and how you want to finish it. We'll give you a few more details of those later. Everything is cross-disciplinary. So there are students from various different backgrounds. We have students from all different backgrounds, into the program. The measure of how many artists or designers or business or engineering or psychology or education students that we have in the program kind of varies per cohort, but we work really hard at finding a good mix of students that can come together and work together. You would take classes in arts and business and engineering, depending on what your background is. You don't have to take the course that aligns with your background, but we encourage it because it's coming through the lens of innovation. We teach advanced product innovation. This is what we do. Everything that you go through, you get to practice, learn and practice as you go. So it's not, we do not take tests, we take risks. Everything you do is applied and should be able to help you build out a portfolio to either or build your own products in order to move yourself forward after you leave the program, and the opportunity to learn entrepreneurship, regardless of whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur, has a certain mindset and skill set that comes with it that makes you very valuable out into the world. So if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you also need to know how to be an entrepreneur. So we ask our students to take an idea forward and work it towards commercialization so they can understand all of the struggles and nuances that comes in when you're trying to launch a product. Then the graduate certificate in healthcare innovation, a little more about that. I did say it was 12 credits in a partnership with the School of Nursing that is also cross-disciplinary. Again, we're taking our Da Vinci students, we're aligning them with healthcare providers, and they come from all different backgrounds, clinicians, nurses. Right now we have the director of innovation and research for nursing as one of our students, which is pretty great. We have someone in a similar role who works for the US military that is in really focusing on AI and machine learning. The really key point of why we mention this here is if anyone has an interest in healthcare, we have opportunities through the projects that we bring in and through your electives where you can create a healthcare focus. So if you take both of these courses or both of these programs at the same time, you don't pay any additional tuition than you would just to pay for the MPI, because the 6 credits coming out of nursing leadership fits nicely into the 6 credits that you need for your electives in the MPI program. Which one? Okay, so the sequence of courses. This one I'm going to try to keep somewhat brief because this is my long slide and I'm a long talker. So this is how the program is initially set up. So we'll talk a little bit, Mary Chris will talk a little bit about a fall schedule, but to be able to explain how you actually move through the program. So if you were to start in fall of 2022, we have a couple courses that we offer. INNO 600 is generally used for the European Innovation Academy. And our hopes that we will actually be able to travel to Portugal this year and be able to participate in this. But this program brings together about 700 students from around the world, yes, vaccinations will be required, to form teams from 65 different nationalities and take an idea all the way to a startup in just 3 weeks. So you form a team around an idea, you move it through the entire process, you prototype, you learn how to market it, you end up pitching to investors in the end, but it's what we call the fire hose effect of product innovation, because you learn a whole lot about product and a whole lot about entrepreneurship in that very short period of time, and then come back to the main program, and then we dive deep and really start to practice those things. But it gives a really nice overview and a really big challenge in the very beginning. Plus you get to study abroad. We cover a great deal of it. We cover the ticket, we cover your accommodations, your plane and your food are the only things required for students to cover. The INNO 691 courses, these are our elective courses. These we tend to offer 4 or 5 of them, 1 credit courses in the summer, so that you can pick and choose the areas that you want to learn the most, but they are designed to kind of make our students really have a good understanding of what they're going to need when they go to dive deep in the fall and spring semesters. So we teach things like intellectual property protection, user-based research, UX UI design. Let's see, what else? Scrum Master certification. So there's just kind of this swath of opportunities for you to pick and choose what you would like to do. You don't have to take those elective credits in the summer, but if you do, they do push to another semester where you would have to fulfill those. Looking at fall is mostly focused on industry. So we're looking at product innovation and product development through the lens of 501, which is art and design, 502, which is business, 503, which is technology and engineering principles. The 590 course is the project course that I was talking about. Again, all of these are taught by people who do this stuff in the real world. 590 is where I bring in projects, and then you use what you're learning in 501 to 503 and implement it on the project in 590, and that is intended to go out and become a real world thing. So this is an example that I think we use in most of our info sessions, but it's just one of my favorites, and it's a really great example of what can start in this project class and then become something bigger. So we were approached by a cardiac surgeon who was noticing a large problem. After he would implant pacemakers, there would be a collection of fluid and plasma that would develop out of the skin called hematoma. And it happened about 2% of the time. And that's a big percentage in anything in healthcare. And he wanted to figure out a way to be able to prevent that from happening. The current methodology is putting a 10 to 15 pound sandbag on the patient's chest, or taking a ball of gauze and like just taping it down really hard. Well, if we think about the type of user, type of patient who is getting a pacemaker most often, we're talking about an older population. So if you put a 10 to 15 pound sandbag on a person's chest and they can't get up and walk around after a surgery, they may develop pneumonia due to shallow breathing and may have higher readmission rates. Their skin also may be more sensitive, and so the tape can just tear the skin, and that's not super helpful either. So we formed a team around this. We had a tourism and hospitality major these are majors from undergrad, but moving into the MPI, a tourism and hospitality major, a graphic designer, and a biomedical engineer who hadn't really developed many physical prototypes in his life. There's a lot of theory in his programs. So they looked at me like I was crazy when I formed this team. And they're like, why would you put us on something like this? And then, gave them the confidence, like, this is something you can absolutely do, because this course is not so much about what you're bringing from your past experience into this. It's about, or your past, I guess, degree. It's more about smart and creative people coming together to find innovative solutions. And we help give you the tools to do that. So long story short, the students ended up creating a brace that goes across the body, can be Velcroed on either side. It has a little air pocket underneath it and a pump that allows you to inflate that airbag to apply pressure to the very specific place. And it does apply about 10 to 15 pounds. The students developed a sensor. They tested out with the care providers when they were pressing down on the chest after the surgery to validate 10 to 15 pounds is correct. They invalidated the gauze method. And now they have created this thing. They have patented it. They were accepted. They formed a company with the cardiac surgeon. They were accepted in the Mass Challenge Accelerator down in Austin, Texas, took it through that. But this is not their passion project. This is not something they want to do. So they created it, patented it, and are now working. They've already got it into a licensing group. So it's going to be manufactured and produced, and they get to collect royalties to go towards their passion projects. But a really great example where they took something they had no idea that they could create and found a really successful path forward, even in a space that they weren't super passionate in, but it will help them in the long run. It's a really exciting thing that's called Pocket Protector, or Pocket Pro, I guess, as they call it. And we have dozens of these things. I listened to a student presentation today where they created a really novel solution, and we want to push them towards bringing it forward. There's a $500,000 opportunity in that solution. And so we'll see if they take it. And if not, we'll find another way to move that project forward. So moving on to the spring semester in 651, this is the first half of the capstone, meaning that this is where students bring their own idea. They pull an idea from working with a local startup, or from our tech transfer office, or from our healthcare system. We give a lot of opportunities, or from NASA. We have partnership with NASA to look at some of their technology that can be utilized for commercial purposes or for civilian purposes. And you take that idea, you validate it, you do your research, and you work it towards commercialization as fast as you can. And this is something you can do in a group. You can work with people from outside the program. They just can't attend class. All kinds of opportunities. But the idea is bring an idea in and work it forward. And we meet you where you are. So Julian, with his jerky product, he already has a product established. He will then start in a different place than a student who comes in with a new idea. On top of that, we have the elective. There's another elective course that you can take in the spring. Again, if you're in the healthcare certificate, that would be covered by the healthcare course in nursing. But this elective, as well as the one in the summer, depending on where you do them, you can take electives outside of the program and fill gaps in your learning that you would just like to have more experience with. So Mary Chris is really great at this. She's got a list of all kinds of electives and is in contact with all sorts of advisors from other master's programs to help figure out what all those opportunities are and guide you through the process and identify where you want to go and how that's going to help you be successful in the future. And then the last class here, this is in 0652, it's the second half of the capstone. And there are 3 ways to finish this capstone. You can either pass through with your 651 idea. If you're working towards creating an actual company, you have to be approved, but you can be approved to move forward. And then you just start working on your company. You are given some prompts throughout to write and share your experience and to really analyze like what your experience is and how you're moving forward so that you can teach other people in your cohort and you can learn from their experiences as well. And ultimately, so you're just kind of in this feedback loop so we can help you launch out of the program into the space that you want to go into. So continuing 651 is one option. The other option is an internship. So, or a job. If you already have a full-time job and there's a special project and product that you can work on, all of the internships or jobs need to be somewhere in the product space. But you're just doing your job. And again, writing about your experiences, trying to figure out how you level up, really, figuring out how you manage up. And our faculty are amazing at this, but you are creating your own plan in order to move yourself forward. So, in the earlier parts of the program, we're trying to help you figure out how to design your life. Mary Chris does workshops and she'll be doing them in the fall too. But how do you figure out where you want to go? Because we do have a lot of students that come in that don't know where they want to end up in this space. They just know that it's interesting and motivating for them to be here. The third option is to do a traditional master's thesis. And I cannot remember the last time we had someone actually take this, because it is an applied program. Very few people want to write an actual thesis and form a committee and all those things. But it is an option, especially for people who may want to pursue a PhD in the long run in the profit space. There was a lot of talking. So there we go.
I think we really find sometimes the best way for you to really understand what we do as a program is to go through what those classes are and just really give you a feel for it. I did just want to touch on, if you decide that you would like to do the program part-time, what that could look like. And as Allison mentioned, some students start summer, some students start fall, some go 13 or 18 months. You can also start a part-time sequence in the summer. So basically I'm saying this to say, this can look a million different ways, but this is just one way to show you how, if you wanted to go part-time, what the courses would look like. So for example, we only offer that 500 series of classes in the fall. So you have to split them up across 2 falls if you're thinking about just taking 6 credits a semester, and you have to have the 500 series done to do the 651. So there's just some kind of things like that to keep in mind. What I do think is really cool about our program being a 13-month program is, even if you decide that part-time is going to be the best match for you with kind of everything else that you're juggling in your life, you still finish in 2 years. And so as someone who went through a traditional 2-year master's program, I went part-time in that 2-year program, and it took me 4+ years to finish it. And so I think it's really amazing that you can do an entire master's degree in 2 years on a part-time basis. So that's definitely something that's a huge positive for us, I think, and for students to keep in mind as you're thinking about it. And again, one thing I'm happy to do, as Garrett mentioned, we are all always happy to meet with you. I'm always happy if you're just curious what this would look like for you based on when you would start and what your background is, or maybe you have master's level credits that you've taken as a non-degree seeking student or a student at another program. Like, always happy to take those questions and do individual meetings and like map out what this would look like for you once you're in our program. And so now just want to talk a little bit about how you apply. So we have our early application deadline of December 15th coming up. And that early application deadline really just means that you're going to be in the first wave of students that we review. And when we are looking down the road at things like graduate assistantships, the students who applied first would have first kind of be reviewed first for those as well. I was talking to a student yesterday who was maybe a little like, she was like, I think I can get it done like by the end of December, but maybe not by the 15th. I do want to stress, we do take rolling applications. And as many of you know, the university does close for a bit of time around winter break. So if you turn your application in on December 17th, it's probably still going to be in that first wave of applications. But that December 15th early application deadline is really just meaning that you're going to kind of be the first group that we look at. And we're also just encouraging you to just, if you know this is something you're interested in, just go ahead and move through the process and go ahead and get this done so that we can get an answer to you more quickly on our end. But that being said, this is how you apply. On the Da Vinci Center webpage, which is here, it's just davincicenter.vcu.edu. You can also just Google VCU Da Vinci Center. We pop right up. If you click the graduate header, and then choose Master of Product Innovation, there's a little button that says apply now. That is going to take you to the graduate schools page. And so I just have a little screenshot here so that doesn't surprise you. Once you get to the graduate school page, you're going to click that apply now button and select our program from there. So that is what that's going to look like. And it'll let you set up an account, begin the application. You can begin it and save it and come back as you're filling out the application. So, and Allison just mentioned in the chat, so hopefully you all see this, those graduate assistantships do go to those first early applicants a little bit earlier. So as far as submitting the application and what we need on that application, and also if you are thinking, I really do want to hit that December 15th deadline and you're feeling like maybe you won't have everything done by that time, I really want to kind of demystify for you like what you need to have done by December 15th. We would need your statement of intent, your resume. We need the names and email addresses of 3 references, but we don't need those references to be in. So your application will count as complete as long as you have filled out the names and email addresses. If your references are asking, what will happen is once you submit that application, they're going to get an email with a form for them to fill out and a place for them to submit a reference letter. We will need those back at least 2 of the 3 before we move to the next step of scheduling interview. But for you to meet that December 15th deadline, all you need is names and emails. And then your transcript requests need to be entered in the system. So similarly, we don't have to have those on file, but you need to have put in the request for your undergraduate transcripts. There is also, if you have access to an unofficial copy of your undergraduate transcripts, you can add those to your application so that we're able to view them, but we'll need the official ones, down the road to process everything more fully. So we need the statement of intent, the resume, those names and emails, and transcript requests. Those are the things that need to be in the system for you to hit submit and everything to count as on time for that December 15th early application deadline. The other 2 things about our application that I want to talk about, I'm actually going to talk about these kind of in reverse order. At the bottom there, the standardized testing, GRE, GMAT, they're not required. You may see some language on our website, and you definitely, if you've dug into the university bulletin, there's definitely still some language there because those kind of bulletin official things take a little bit of time to change, but we are not requiring the GRE and GMAT for any students. We waived it temporarily, as did many graduate programs for COVID, and we really always felt like it wasn't really the best indicator. Like we always put more emphasis on the statement of intent and the resume and the interview and portfolio. And what has proved to be true is that not taking GRE and standardized testing scores from students has not impacted our cohort and our students' ability at all. So we no longer are requiring standardized testing. And then I also want to mention that along with that, if you're reading on the website, it talks about GRE, GMAT for students coming from a non-arts background, and then a portfolio for students from an arts background. That portfolio is also no longer required, but we do encourage all students, whether you're coming from an arts background or not, to submit a portfolio as a supplemental piece of your application. And if you are coming from an arts background, that looks very much probably like a portfolio you submitted, like you used coming out of undergraduate, or maybe you submitted to get into art school, so a portfolio of your work and descriptions of those pieces. But this can also be a professional portfolio. We're seeing more and more students, using that on LinkedIn to attract employers, or putting it together for a job, or putting it together as part of an undergraduate course, maybe as you were graduating. And so we would love to see a portfolio that really just showcases who you are as a person, maybe projects that you've done in the workplace, projects you completed as an undergraduate, kind of whatever feels appropriate here to you. This can be something that's like a PDF that you submit to us, but we honestly find for a lot of students, it's often a website. And the link for that, you can send it either directly to Allison or I. We also would not have to have that by December 15th for you to meet that deadline. That's something that could come a little bit later if it needs to. But we really value in the application process who you are as a person, and portfolio, statement of intent, what your references have to say. And then if you're selected for an interview, what you show in that interview really is where that shines through. So would love to see that portfolio from you. And then just some general information here. The davincicenter.vcu.edu is our website. We do have a general email as well. That's davincicenter@vcu.edu. We are also happy to put contact information in the chat for you to reach out directly, but a real person really does check that davincicenter@vcu.edu email address. So that is also an okay way to get in touch with us if you would like to do that. So I will stop there, and we are happy to take any questions. You can feel free to unmute or type them in the chat.
We did have one in the chat that I will answer out loud.
Oh, thank you.
Seeing your recording. The question was, is the December 15th deadline for fall as well? And no, the fall deadline is May 15th.
And the after December 15th deadline is February 15th. But again, we're rolling on those summer admissions. So if you're not ready on the 15th of December, but you're ready on the 16th, submit it on the 16th.
Yes, that will get you earlier review, earlier consideration for scholarships and graduate assistantships. And yes, so the summer deadline is February 15th. So the early deadline is December 15th, regular deadline fall February 15th. And then after that, we're only we tend to only take fall applications. If there's something that happens and you have some concern, please just reach out to us. We are a pretty flexible group of people. We run a lot like a startup, which is pretty different than what you might see in other educational programs. But we really work to help our students in any way that we can. And so again, just want to get to know you and hear more about your experience. So if you're struggling with something, don't hesitate to ask us. Or if you just want to hear more examples of the stuff that our students do, or talk to more of our students, that is absolutely a possibility. Just, shoot us an email and we will sit down and we can talk it out virtually, or we can meet for coffee, whatever is your preference. But this is what we do. This is our flagship program, and we really work to help our students be successful here. So that starts before you enter the program and doesn't stop even after you graduate. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Any other questions? Yeah. I'll go ahead and stop my share here.
Hi there. I have a quick question about the graduate assistantship that you put in the chat. Could you just elaborate a little bit more of what that entails, and if that's like also a federal work study program, or yeah?
Got it. So we have a few different ones, and we tend to loop them all into graduate assistantships. We do have one that comes with tuition support that is funded through the graduate school here at VCU. And that one, normally it's we either make a selection, or if we just have too many students that qualify, we will ask for students to kind of complete an application for that. But all of these happen after acceptance into the program. So some examples of the work that our students do. Other graduate assistantships that we have are just paid positions that we provide. Students will do work, less than 20 hours a week for the center, and then we're paying them to do that. We try to take all these positions, regardless of how they're funded, and listen to the students' experiences, what they want to learn, what their current skill set is, and then kind of adjust what that job position might look like to pair it with the needs of the center, if that makes sense. So we have students who work as teaching assistants and help our faculty grade or make presentations or engage with students. We have others who run our student storefront. We have students who right now are working on business development and operations to run our student storefront. They get the real experience of designing window clings and swag that is actually produced and put on the shelves in the system, or I'm sorry, in Shift, in the storefront. We have students who work in the lab. I have a student right now who works with me in the makerspace that we have. So he is developing the training sessions for our 3D printers using 3D modeling software, our laser cutter, soon to be a CNC router, our Cricut maker, all the equipment, our hand tools and power tools and saws and things. So he has developed this curriculum and it is now teaching undergraduate and graduate students in Da Vinci all of these skill sets and how they might be able to utilize our lab for prototyping, which is actually something we should probably feature in these info sessions, because we have some really cool spaces, in and beyond Shift. But there is like a separate place that students, Da Vinci students, can come in and prototype and work and utilize for their own products or for the things that they're doing in the classroom. And we really work to fund those materials and those kinds of things. But yeah, so there's this large opportunity. We hire a GA and we'll have them work with other people on campus. So one of our current GAs is working with my co-director of the healthcare certificate on her research for products that help Parkinson's patients learn how to re-articulate their feet and be able to get past tremors and those kinds of things. And so she has an interest in intellectual property and gets to dive deep into this healthcare product space with one of our liaisons from another school that we work with. So we can create new opportunities. We can, reutilize and rewrite opportunities that we have. But again, this is about the student experience. So we like to listen to our school, we'll put ideas out there for graduate assistantships for people to apply to, but ultimately those get adjusted to the skill sets and what students want to learn in the long run. Yeah.
Just to clarify on that, just kind of to reiterate one thing on that, because assistantships can be used in so many different ways. One of those assistantships, the first one that Allison mentioned, has a stipend that covers a good portion of the tuition and comes with a salary. The rest of
$5,000 stipend,
yeah, and then the rest of those are hourly paid positions that work, about 20 hours a week. So just to clarify, kind of that piece there, because again, that word gets used for a lot of different kind of positions.
I should also mention that we do have other scholarships that we offer, usually coming in like $5,000 increments for students. And it really depends on the amount of funding that we bring in from our donors to be able to fund those things. This past year, we had a very generous donation that allowed us to provide scholarships to all of our students that came in, and we're hoping to be able to do those types of things in the future. But again, it really depends on that type of funding, and that's another reason why we wait until students are accepted into the program before presenting those opportunities, which I know is a little different than how other academic programs manage their scholarships. But again, if you have financial need, talk to us, let us know, and we can definitely keep you in mind for those. There's a question in the chat that we just paused to read for those of you watching the recording. So federal work study is a need-based aid, or based off of your FAFSA, which graduate students can be eligible for, but it's limited in funding. Meaning every student that is eligible does not necessarily get awarded federal work study. So it could be up to $3,000 per year, and you probably apply for a work study job if you're awarded funding. So the question in here, yes, we do work with federal work study students. We haven't ever had one at a graduate level that I'm aware of, but absolutely we can help. If someone gets federal work study, we can absolutely help them get that, because with federal work study you have to work in order to get the money from the federal government, and absolutely we can support that in the master's program if that is an award that someone reached. And if it's not with us, we have other partners in School of Business and all of our partner schools. There are also lots of other graduate assistantships that are available on campus. Just going through, what's the program, Mary Chris? I always forget what it's called. Higher Ramps?
Handshake, the higher VCU, the program through career services.
There is a program for university-wide that where employers from outside the university or university departments can post positions, and a lot of programs that are looking for graduate students to work will post their graduate assistantships, and they can be very similar to the tuition support and the stipends that we receive for that one larger scholarship that we get from the graduate school. We do need to say that generally when it says it comes with tuition support, it comes with baseline tuition support, and the MPI program does have a little bit more expensive tuition, but it makes a heck of a dent in the total tuition for the program.
And thank you, Tevi, for sharing that bit of knowledge from it looks like from your other role here at VCU. So, and if I mispronounced your name, I'm sorry.
I did not realize you were from VCU.
Yeah, it's Chevy. It's Chevy, just like the car.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
I should have known you were coming from another place at VCU. Yes, thank you for that information. And yeah, they are funded 75%, but we can easily provide that other 25%. Especially if anyone is interested in teaching assistantships, we have so many faculty that love working with our students, and there is more than enough opportunity and hours to be able to fulfill that. Yes. Yeah, happy to support. Any other questions? Well, I'm not hearing any. Feel free. So Americus and I both put our email addresses in the chat. I won't read them off for the people in the recording, but you can find us online. Again, if you email davincicenter@vcu.edu, that will come to a real person and be redirected to Mary Chris or I or Garrett. You can address us by name in that email, and we will make sure we get with that. Happy to meet with you. We've met with students for up to an hour just to discuss the program and clarify things. To make sure that this is the right fit for you, because you need to be confident in that too. And we're not going to try to sell you on a program that may not be the right fit. But those can be really informative, and happy to dive into all the details as you need. So just reach out and let us know, and we hope to see your applications.
Yep. Thank you all so much.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.